Hey everyone, I'm Nisha and welcome to Tales in Text. So today I thought I'm going to do something on a trial basis. I had heard about how people use tarot cards for story writing and character development, so I thought I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to be using oracle cards and not tarot cards for this because I feel oracle cards are so much easier to work with when you're doing stories because of how expansive they can be in terms of their interpretation, and they give you a sort of a jumping off point without pigeonholing you into a specific meaning or action, and giving you the freedom and flexibility to change things around the way you want. So again, I just want to preface this by saying that this is my very first attempt at character development using oracle cards or any sort of cartomancy. So I'm just going to be thinking aloud as I go, and let's hope that we end this video with a character, at least semi created, if not fully fleshed out, that we can work with. Okay, so I decided to start off by choosing a base archetype for this person, and I chose to work with this card, which is the Lover archetype card from the Wild Unknown archetypes. Now, when I look at this Lovers card, I sense a person who is a very, of course, loving individual, but someone who possibly falls in love very easily, someone who's very kind hearted and empathetic, someone who would follow their heart rather than their mind, and who would trust their instinct, trust their gut to give people second chances. The presence of the swan tells me that possibly this person is way more sensitive than they look, but they adopt the sense of, you know, regalness, you could call it, in the face of challenges, because they don't want other people to know that they're upset, and they want to give off or rather exude this sense of how nothing can touch them, nothing can unfurl their feathers, right? Or rather ruffle their feathers, I'm sorry. And yeah, I think that would be sort of the base archetype that we're working with. So this person's like really kind-hearted and empathetic, and really loving, can sometimes also be so crazily in love that they are willing to jump headlong into whatever it is without weighing the risks, because they love, they love being in love, they love being in relationships, right? So now I wanted to introduce, okay, so this is basically the base personality of this individual. Now I wanted to add on a layer of conflicting emotions to this person, and I decided to choose two cards which sort of made, kind of called out to me immediately, because it's the Lovers. And yes, it does look a little obvious, the choices, but I chose one was this, Lust. This is from the Reclaim Oracle. And the other one that I chose was Shame, another one from the Reclaim Oracle. Now, the reason I wanted to choose these cards is because they sort of gave me a way to kind of bring in this emotional conflict in this person. Now, this person loves to be in love. This person is a very lovable individual themselves. This person trusts people very easily, and they are possibly looking for someone to be in a relationship with. And as with any human, they do have a desire for physical intimacy, and that's perfectly normal and natural. But then there's also the sense of shame. Let me just move the camera a little bit this side. Yeah, there's also this sense of shame, where it could be that they are afraid to find love, afraid to get intimate with someone who they fall in love with, or possibly their past experiences have created this sense of misunderstanding, or this sort of wrong belief that that they are undesirable, or possibly that I'm just again thinking out loud here. And you know what, if any of you have any other storylines that you can think of using these cards, do pop them down in the comments below. I think it's fun to build stories as a community, and we can look at how each other all of us think and ideate, and all our diverse life experiences will sort of add to this storytelling, right? Okay, so possibly there's this sense of shame because it could also be that maybe they are a younger individual who's never experienced a sexual desire before, so maybe this is possibly an awakening. So this could be in the adolescent or post-adolescent period as well. So all right, maybe possibly let's go with that, right? I think that sort of that's a nice arc to put. So possibly this person is in their teenage years, their hormonal changes are happening in their body, and they're this really lovable and nice and kind, just a sweetheart of a person. And they've always been this childish and innocent person, but then now teenage years, hormones are raging, body is changing, mind is changing, awareness of the world is growing, and so now there's this sense of experiencing desire. They don't know what to do about it because possibly their parents have not spoken to them about it, right? Perhaps they are from a conservative family which doesn't talk about sex and about bodily needs and about growing up, about puberty. And that's probably why this sense of wherein they're feeling these desires which they have never felt before, and it's just really strange and alarming, and they're possibly ashamed of themselves because they've been told that that anyone who feels this kind of desire before getting married is a sinner, and there's this sort of societal shame that builds up. So I think that makes for an interesting, and I think for a lot of people, relatable character, because I myself come from a society wherein there is a lot of this conservative mindset of how people should view sex and how people should view their body, about bodily agency and so on. Of course things are changing, but I think this is a global issue wherein there's our awareness as young adults of the bodily changes that are going on and the mental maturity that's happening versus the reality of the world, and there's just this sort of a vacuum and disconnect that's happening. So I think that's a good jumping off point. Okay, so now I wanted to talk of, okay, so this person has these sort of conflicting emotions, right? Their body is telling them one thing, their mind is telling them another, they don't know what to do about it, and it's possibly affecting their friendships and the way they are handling the world around them, right? And I chose this card, Change. So this is from the Coastal Curiosities. So now I thought, okay, fine, so now this person has this conflict, right? And okay, let's just put it over here. I think this sort of visible over here. Right, so this person has this conflict, right? And so now things are starting to change. Maybe they are feeling like maybe the way they respond to people is changing because they're not understanding what's going on emotionally and intellectually and physically, and they don't know how to deal with it because after all they're young, they're just a teenager with little to no experience of the outside world, and the way they deal with the world is possibly changing. Maybe they're lashing out against someone, or maybe they're becoming more quiet and sort of withdrawn, or they're not able to understand how to deal with these little crushes that they have on perhaps their classmate or somebody else. And there's this sort of disconnect. The way I view the scissors is this sort of this just disconnect between who they really are versus who they are not sure they're supposed to become. And I think that adds a great sort of a crisis of identity, right? And in these circumstances, it also starts affecting how they experience life, and what happens to them, what opportunities they get, and so on. And what next? The more I think about this, I feel like was this sort of, did I choose these cards consciously because I wanted to create this story, or did I just pick up because I was just shuffling the cards, and a couple of them just popped out, and I decided to, like, for example, the change card just popped out on its own, and I sort of thought of it, and I don't know. Developing characters is hard, people. It's hard. Okay, so now our character is at this crucial juncture of, at the cusp of adulthood, and then, this is a crucial time when they need to sort of find a way to retain that loving energy, that archetype that they are born with, that they truly are deep in their core, but also navigate these really difficult decisions. And what the energy that is needed here is tenderness. And I think this would fall directly over here between all of these, because we're seeing how the presence of shame is making them change their behavior towards the people they love, towards the people they've newly met, towards themselves. There's this conflict of emotions, and that lover's archetype that they have, a loving archetype, is not really shining through. And I think shame was so overwhelming at that time that there needs to be a sense of tenderness that they give themselves, and that they show that compassion and tenderness towards themselves, so that they can realize and acknowledge that, hey, feelings of desire are completely normal, and it's okay, and you don't need to feel ashamed about it. And so I think that's where the tenderness comes in. So the thing about the Coastal Curiosities deck is that there are just so many elements in the cards that it's really difficult to sort of dig deep into each one, because that have taken hour each just to explain one card. So I'm going with just the keywords here. Okay, so I pulled two cards in order to reflect this tenderness. One was I accept, or rather I practice self-acceptance. So this is the Songs of My Heart oracle by Hand Me That Pencil. So I practice self-acceptance, and I feel like this would be such a beautiful card, because growing up, a lot of us struggle to accept how we are and what we feel, and that's sort of the problem that leads us to a problem of crisis of identity, where we don't know what to behave like or what to do. And I think I practice self-acceptance would be a good thing for our character, right? So this person is at the cusp of adulthood, going through all these changes, going through all these emotional upheavals. They need to show tenderness to themselves, so they need to start accepting themselves and remind themselves that, what, it is completely okay to feel the way I'm feeling, and there's nothing wrong with experiencing desire, and it's perfectly fine. It's a process of being an adult, and just letting yourself know that it's human, it's okay, and this happens to everybody, and therefore it's not something to feel so ashamed about that you cut yourself out of everybody else's life, or you cut yourself out of society and sort of become withdrawn or isolated and so on. So that's one thing that I pulled. And another card that I pulled was I welcome support. And again, I think this would be a great way to kind of encourage people, or encourage our character to sort of talk to their family members, maybe a trusted family member, maybe an older sibling, maybe a fun aunt, maybe their best friend, maybe I don't know, if their grandparents are cool, their grandparents, to kind of open up to them and say that, hey, look, I'm struggling because puberty hit me and I need some help. So I think that kind of support act, and I think honestly, when I'm just talking out loud about this character development, it just makes me realize how a lot of us, growing up, how many of us actually spoke to our family about all the changes that we went through, right? I don't think a lot of us did. And I think having our character, because this person ultimately is, we have to remember that this person is the archetype of the lovers, right? And one of the main archetype of the lovers, one of the key traits that I identify with this archetype is trust. And it's the willingness to just take a deep breath, trust, and dive right in, knowing, even without knowing for certain about what the outcome might be, but trusting that the best might happen for them. And I think the lovers, personality will sort of shine through in terms of asking for support, because they truly believe in the relationships that they have nurtured, whether it's family or friends, and they love their family and friends, and they believe and trust in the wisdom that their support and that their network offer. So I feel like, I think even before self acceptance, I think I should have pulled out this card, because as the lover, the way I positioned it in this video, I would feel that this person would possibly go to someone that they trust, and then they would sort of lead them towards the self acceptance. So that's something I'm thinking out loud once again. Let me know what you feel. I mean, is this character development too cliche, or is it something interesting? Did I miss something? Now, another card that I pulled, because so we've established that this person is probably possibly going to go to their loved one and to seek support, right? Because they're feeling this shame and this sense of confusion. Now, I want to make my character really sort of, more mature for their age, in the sense that they are a teenager still going through all this stuff, because puberty is hard on everyone, right? And experiencing feelings of desire and lust for the very first time, having crushes for the very first time, is both exciting but also a kind of complicated process, right? Especially if you come from families that are really tough on you as a child. Now, we've established this person is going to go to their friends or family for support. Now, it isn't always true that every single person's going to always say, yay or nay, right? Which is why I've introduced this card. So this is from the Amenti Oracle. It's called I Listen to Opposing Opinions. Now, like I mentioned, not everybody is going to be supportive or open and accepting of this. There might be people who would still say, you know what, this is a sin, don't do it, and sort of encourage the shame. But then there might be also people who'd say that, you know what, it's normal, I went through this whole thing and it's completely fine. And I think our protagonist would want to listen to opposing views. They would want to kind of make sense of what everyone is saying and where everyone is coming from, right? And they would want to know more about why a particular person is taking a particular stance or having a particular opinion. And so they would want to listen to everyone, because like I said, the whole lover personality stands out here, where they really trust all of their loved ones and they value everyone's opinion of the people that they love. And so they want to listen to everyone's opinion. And to me, once they started listening to everyone's opinion, that's when the awakening happens. Now, I love the representation of Awaken with a bat, because a bat, as you know, is a creature that travels only in the night. It's awake in the night. It uses echolocation to travel in the night. And then, as you can see over here, this creature right over here is a nautilus. I mean, according to my understanding, the guidebook doesn't have any information, but the physical appearance does look like a nautilus. And the nautilus is one of the few animals in the world that can actually swim backwards. So while most animals can swim only in one direction, the nautilus can swim in actually pretty much not just backwards, pretty much any direction, left, right, straight, back, anything. And I think I love the idea of our character experiencing this sort of awakening that's happening, once they started listening to these opposing viewpoints. And the awakening is this sort of this internal knowing plus gaining of new information, wherein their knowledge is growing about what's happening to them, what's happening to their body, what's happening to their mind, why are they thinking this way, why are they feeling this way, but also an awakening of a sort of sense of identity, okay, whether they could either, again, once again, I'm not perfectly sure how it's gonna land in the end. Maybe the influence of the conservative people would be too high and they would continue to shy away from sex and intimacy and body and everything associated with that. Or they might have the awakening of understanding that what's happening to them is completely fine, completely normal. So, but anyways, there's a sense of awakening that's happening. And I wanted to end and sort of round off this whole character development with a final card, which is I Can Be Trusted. Now, again, love the idea of, you know, this intellectual and emotional awakening that's happening, right? Get this gaining of new ideas, this maturation of their emotional development, is bringing to them these insights about themselves and about the world, which is really improving their worldview. And I feel like this new knowledge is something that they can use to decide how they want to live their lives, or how they want to tackle any sort of crushes that they may have, or any such feelings, right? And ultimately I feel like this the lover personality once again comes through in the sense that, and along with I practice self acceptance. These two cards right here, the lover personality and I accept self acceptance. There is this sense of wherein they realize that, okay, you know what, I have all the information I need right now, and I think I'm mature enough to take a decision for myself. I am mature enough to know how to handle things, and if I need help, I will always once again go back and welcome support, ask, you know, people that I love about what I can do and how I can handle things. But for now, I think I can be trusted with this information, and I can be trusted to take decisions that are good for me, that are right for me, that don't put me in trouble or put anybody else in trouble. And I think I can be trusted. And I feel like this sort of overarching, you know, theme of going through starting out as this bubbly and innocent person, and I wouldn't say, I think innocent is also the wrong word, right? I used it before as well, and I'm sorry, I think it's a wrong word. I think it would be more about a young person who doesn't have much experience about the world, or hasn't really gone through puberty, and so going through all of that confusion and emotional conflict, and finally, you know, after struggling with it for a while, and, you know, learning to you know, gaining the courage to seek out her peers, or but their peers, I don't want to gender this person, their peers, then their loved ones and their family, seeking both opposing viewpoints and understanding and evaluating their own personal stance, and coming to this conclusion wherein, you know, they trust themselves and they know what they're doing, and, you know what, things are just perfectly fine. And yeah, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but this character, at least for now, is sure about whatever decision they've taken, and whatever new feelings and understandings that they've developed about about feeling shame, about feeling lust, right? I think that was basically where the problems had started, about feeling shame, for feeling lust and desire, and experiencing all the physical changes and emotional changes that come with growing up. So yeah, they've finally reached a place where they feel that they can be trusted to take a mindful and conscious decision. All right, I think that's it. This was my very first experience, like I said, doing some character development with oracle cards. I hope it makes sense. I'm gonna review this video after I post it, and I don't know, I'm gonna seek a couple of pointers for myself, and but this was really fun. Although it was hard, it was really fun. And let me know, would your take have been different using the same cards? Would you have interpreted any of these differently, or would you have used some other cards? Would you have used tarot cards instead? Just let me know. Have you ever used cartomancy for storytelling and for character development? Just let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.